thus far. Taking the 10, gets ring 4, looks in end zone shot. Higgins! Got it! Touchdown Pittsburgh!
Welcome back to 5-Star Matchup. If you like what we do, head over to patreon.com/5SMU and join for just $4 a month. It's the best way to support the show, and we'd love you dearly for it. Do it now. Well, what do we have here? Oh, nothing, just a big old steaming pile of crow to eat. Enter new Steelers starting quarterback, former Super Bowl winner Russell Wilson. Excuse the chill that just went down my spine. And much like every week, I have no idea what the f to expect. Start this one with a toad up the gut for the Naj man, followed by a little dipsy-do lob to Mount Washington, who continues to rampage like a wild elephant every time he touches the rock. This guy was made for Pittsburgh. Let's get him some Eric Green-style shoulder pads, though. Another one to the double deuce, and look at this subtle cut. Who is this speed demon in the backfield all of a sudden? The last 2 weeks, Najee is looking like a totally different back and absolutely racking up 10+ yard runs. Back to the pass end, yeah, anybody missing Strawberry Fields yet? Russell falls forward for a gain of 2, Justin would have sauntered for a first, but hey, that's the trade-off, right? I don't know, Chief. Third and medium, Russ can't find anyone and lobs it out of bounds. Steelers, like seemingly always, get started with a Boswell kick that is not even worth watching, because you already know it's... Steelers on top, 3-0. Over to Aaron Rodgers, the former Packer great, forced like many before him to live out his days in obscurity somewhere in New Jersey. And whoops! Freshly acquired Devontae Adams shakes off the rust with a dainty drop, and on 3rd and long, it's Larry Ogunjobi with the coverage sack. Getting one of these on a passer like that is one of the best signs your defense is doing its job. And 2 months in, this unit has been mostly great. Back to Russell and the boys, and they get going with a little screen pass and a run to Jay Warren, who looks to be getting back to himself. More on that later. But on 3rd and short, wide receiver 2, Calvin Austin asks, "Where's the bread?" as he lets it slip right through his basket. Just no excuse here. Gotta make the play for your quarterback. Back to the D, and it's a run into the great unknown for Breece Hall. And let's take a minute to acknowledge how steady the Steelers' D-line has been this year. Oh, and what the fuck is this? Larry O gets tagged with a boisterously pathetic personal foul for, let me check my notes, finishing the play as the whistle happens? Come on, man, I get how this can be called on a quarterback, but a running back? Absolutely clown shoes. Could you imagine James Harrison playing in this version of the NFL? Rodgers gets enough time to sit, wait, and get immunized, all before dumping it off to Breece Hall, who gallops past a stumbling Pat Queen for a chunk to midfield. Just too much time for a great quarterback and too much space for a shifty back. There's one disturbing trend for this defense lately, it's giving way too much receiving yardage up to backs. A couple plays later, it's the quarter man, Deshaun Elliott, who continues to just leap off the page every week. To this point, he's been the most surprising offseason ad, and it feels to me like he makes a handful of plays every week. 3rd and medium though, Rodgers again gets all day and finds the cold-blooded Lazard for a first to keep him moving. What was I saying about receiving yards to backs? Hall takes another one as the Jets use the Steelers' aggressiveness against them to get near the red zone. Hey, can you cue up that one extreme zoom on Mike Tomlin's face we get every week? Thanks. 2nd and 8, Rodgers whips it out to Garrett Wilson, who in my humble opinion was plenty good enough to be a wide receiver 1 anyway, and the Jets are donning their finest green cravats as they enter the business zone. All right, gotta get a stop here. Let's put in Quiet Milk and Jeremiah Moon and see if that... No, that doesn't work at all. Breece Hall patiently follows a perfectly blocked up run for an easy sixer, and the Jets fly out to a 7-3 lead. And you all bitch about Taylor Swift. 2nd and 10, as good a time as any to toss it for a loss of 2, setting up a 3rd and a dozen, which goes nowhere. Way to respond. Awesome tackle here by Dante Don't Call Me Deontay puts him behind the 8 ball, but on 2nd, Rodgers gets enough time to bake his famous vegan baked ziti, and like always, the fake cheese separates and he misfires. Maybe he needs some glasses in his old age. 3rd and 11, he lobs a prayer down the sideline, and it's right back to Rustler the Hustler in the Steelers offense. Nice cut, gets a pair for Naj, and we head already into the 2nd quarter. What? Not sure what this throw is. Anybody think it's a throwaway? 3rd and 8, Wilson steps up and fires errantly for nothing, but I just gotta point out everyone's favorite chicken McNugget, Jalen Warren, with a phenomenal blitz pickup. I know people have started to catch on to his blocking ability, but man, does it impress me every week. Best we've had at that since Le'Veon. Great punt and a penalty backs the Jets up to start deep, and they get going with a dump off to Hall, followed by a heroic swap by Godzilla Hayward. This is something the Steelers did a number of times today to the aging Rodgers, who may or may not be facing the old Ben Roethlisberger D from his last 2 years. You know he's not gonna run, and he's gotta unload it quickly, so get your hands up. 3rd and long, Devontae Adams, who already lost to the Steelers this week, gets close but no cigar, and it's right back over to the Steelers' sputtering offense. 2nd and forever, Art Smith dials up play action, and Russ waits, calculates the precise trajectory of the moon's orbit, and lobs a high arcing shot to the curious one, who sucks it in like a Dyson. Okay, I'm willing to concede that this is why you put him in there over Fields. Not that Justin doesn't have the arm strength to get it there, but the ever-savvy Wilson knows how to get it there correctly. Just give your big body target a chance to make something happen, and he just might. It's only been 1 game, but I'm thinking the deep shots are gonna unstick this offense for the first time since before Roethlisberger's arm exploded. Cook it now, why not flip it out to the largest dude on the field again? The president, Mr. Washington, rumbles for another first, and you better grab your finest black and gold silks as we enter the business zone. 1st and 10, and it's another violent dash up the middle by the effervescent Najman, who goes backwards on the next play, and on 3rd and long, Russell gets enough time to set his DVR, record the new Matlock spinoff, and watch it, but can find nobody open, so he lobs it out of bounds. Steelers settle for another Boswell kick and a very Pittsburgh Steelers score of 7-6. Back to Aaron, and he finds his super best friend Devontae for a dozen to get the Jets fired up. Couple plays later, Rodgers finds Breece Hall, who slips the entire Steelers defense as he gallops for a million with the score just barely saved by the Mink Man. This is not good. Teams are absolutely going to start exploiting this if Terrell Austin can't get it figured out. Rodgers almost drops a peach in the basket for the score. Hall comes up short on 2nd, but on a pivotal 3rd and gotta have it, the vet dupes him with the oldest play in the book, lobbing an easy play action pass to his tight end for the score as the Jets take a 7-point lead. But shouldn't it be 8, Steve? Well, you'd think, but see, we got the block goat Danny Smith who draws up this one perfectly for the Mink Man to fire through, but wouldn't you know it, there's some wild ass bullshit and they call him for leverage and they run it back, this time from the 1 and they get the 2. Look, I'm never Mr. Ref Ball, but this is, excuse my French, f***ing ridiculous. And not at all in the spirit of the rule. This is a clean block and the ref's over-refed. No 2 ways about it. I'm still pissed for the Mink Man, who seemingly always gets blocked kicks taken away on BS penalties. Either way, the Jets take a commanding 9-point lead. Barf. Needing to respond, Russ conjures up a little danger with a play-action juke and flip to the one they call Muth, who gallops for 40, and man does this one get filed firmly and on the top of the pile of things you love to see. Unlocking Muth for me was Art Smith's #1 job, and so far it's starting to pay off. It feels like you can count on one hand the amount of times 88 has gotten to catch and run in his first 3 years, and it almost always goes well. Keep them coming, Artie. 1st and 20 from midfield, Russ says f*** it, George down there somewhere, and lobs another moonshot that his man can't quite come down with. But you gotta like the idea. 3rd and 24 picks up a few to save face, but it's time for another punt. And it's a good one for Waitman, who has mostly made us all forget about Cam Johnson. And really forces the question of just what in the hell were we doing with Presley Harvin? Back to Rodgers, who, being the Hall of Famer he is, immediately spots and targets the one they call Pierre Island, dotting him up with a sweet throw and catch to Lazard to get him out of the hole. Hall scampers for 6, setting up a 2nd and medium where Rodgers drops, sets, and is it getting a little chilly? You might want to grab a beanie! That's Mr. Bishop if you're nasty, just a silky smooth one-handed pick by the embattled first-year slot man to totally change the complexion of this game. With the Jets getting the ball first out of the half, points of any kind on this possession might have been too much to overcome. Just a monumental play for the Rook. Gotta capitalize though. Russ finds the hypothetical receiver Van Jefferson, who gets turned upfield for a quick and easy first. Couple plays later, it's 2nd and 7, and we have ignition! It's another moonball from the Rustler, and while Georgie Porgy can't reel it in, if we've learned anything from watching Joe Flacco these last 3 decades, it's that good things happen when you do this. And sure enough, there's laundry on the field, and the Steelers find themselves deep in the red zone as a result. Couple plays later, and Randy Moss, whom? Dangerous just keeps giving 14 chances, and what do you know? It pays off. Sweet passing touchdown, the likes of which we haven't seen in these parts since Benjamin the Large. I might be willing to admit that moving on to Russell the Small was the right choice for Mike T. This goes on the stat sheet as an 11-yard touchdown, but it's the exact type of pass that the Pickett's and Trubiskys of the world just don't have the feel for. Steelers close the gap 13-15. One more nice tackle by Beanie Boy, and we head in for orange slices and pretzel rods. Hey you, I know you've heard this spiel a million times if you watch the show, so I'll save you the oxygen. Do it. I, for one, am excited to actually talk about touchdowns, so let's get back to it. Roll the f***ing game. Into the third now, and whoops. Crowd noise would play a huge part in this one, with false starts up plenty for the stumbling head coachless Jets. But then again, if you're gonna give one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the Western world 3 hours to find someone, he's gonna do it. A couple plays later, Aaron finds the very same Wilson for an almost first, but on third he lobs an absolute quacker to Devontae, who wishes he was in black and gold, and it's right back over to the Steelers' now simmering offense. Naj grabs a couple, and on 3rd and 7, Wilson! Russell lobs a maybe underthrown ball to his man George the Animal, who makes a juggling catch to flip the field. What an insane catch, and while you might call this underthrown, I call it giving your man a chance on an overmatched DB. And believe it or not, it works. Steady ground game picks up a few, setting up a gotta have it third, and holy what a pitch and catch for Russ and Muth. Put this one in the Louvre. Wilson lobs a floater that only his man can get, and like usual, number 88 snares it, this time with only one hand as he tumbles down inside the red zone. Is this an I formation with Connor Hayward at fullback? Marry me. Jay scampers for a first inside the 5, and it's Morbin time. Getting greedy, Russell the Muscle lobs another balloon to Georgie, and while I love the idea, Sauce Gardner probably not the guy you want to target here. Russ can find no one on third, and the Steelers again settle for an easy field goal. They take the lead, but you never want to leave points on the board against quarterbacks of Rodgers' caliber. 16-15. Rodgers gets him started with another ugly duckling, and that sets up our
5-star
play of the game.
Yeah, it could be 3 guys, one hanging. Here's Rodgers, back, sideline, slaying Wilson, intercepted! He didn't catch it, Beanie Bishop did! Beanie's got 2!
Welcome to the Beanie Bishop game. We call this one the Beanie Bounce. Rodgers hits his man Wilson right in the chest, but perhaps his demotion to wide receiver 2 this week has affected his confidence as he, drops it, and it bounces right to the beanbag, who rumbles and stumbles his way to an almost score. Very next play, Russell shows the muscle and plows in for, I guess, a touchdown? I can't see it, but I don't really give a as the Steelers open up the lead. What a turnaround. Are we falling in love with the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers? Back to the now sputtering Jets, and Rodgers finds an open Lazard, shockingly on James Pierre, followed by a nice slash up the middle for the cool, relaxing Brees. And on 3rd and 7, the same Mr. Hall can only muster 6, setting up a needed 4th and 1, and like a hallucinogenic trip in the desert, Rodgers partakes in a much-needed conversion. Too much time on first, but Rodgers can find no one. His hand looks like Dusty Rhodes' forehead, daddy. And on 2nd and 10, it's the somewhat quiet tonight Eater of Worlds, Trentavious Jordanian Watt with the swat. Too bad he couldn't just grab this for the pick, but even when the stat sheet looks light, trust me, 90 is affecting the game. 3rd and long now, and Rodgers lobs a flying nothing somewhere in the direction of Joey Jr., who never met a sideline he didn't like, and the Jets are forced to settle for a pathetic little field goal attempt of their own. And Danny Smith came here to chew bubblegum and block kicks, and he's all out of bubblegum. Absolutely stellar makeup block for the Steelers' stifling special teams unit. Couldn't love this more for the block goat and double bubble king, Danny Smith, whose wife I hear is a hell of a baker. Get that oven preheating, Mrs. Smith. Over to General Carrington, and his troops already facing a need at third, and he flips it out to the Samoan Wonder, and yes, I'm happily acknowledging the electric meatball. What a cut to make something out of nothing, and juke 2, count 'em 2, Jets out of their shoes and pick up a ton. Underrated play in the outcome of this game that most people won't talk about or remember, but 5-star always remembers. Run nets a few, followed by a simple on-time pitch and catch to 14, and we head both to midfield and into the 4th and final stanza. Just who in the f is this speed demon in the 22 jersey? Najee Harris continues to have been replaced by an alien replicant with 2x speed as he rattles off another huge gainer to get us inside the red zone. What can I say? Just look at this shot. Gray face masks, block numbers. This shit looks like something out of a Bill Cowher lookbook. And we're gonna have to move on quickly or I might need to take a break. More of the same stupid, sexy Najee running sets him up deep, but on second, Russ can't hit. Looks to me like he could have walked in, but that's okay because on third, we're living in a van down by the end zone. Hypothetical receiver Van Jefferson transcends to theoretical receiver and places a nail in the coffin of the JETS. Suck, suck, suck. Okay, I'm fully ready to admit I was wrong, and moving to Wilson was the right move. Just straight up. I love Fields and still want him here, but Wilson in one game has completely unstuck this offense of its woes in the post-Roethlisberger society. Steelers take a commanding 30-15 lead as time ticks in the fourth. Renegade blares as Acrisure rattles. Joey Jr. lassos Hall like a steer, and can you ask any more of this kid? Finally a Nepo baby we can all get behind. Another false start. 3rd and 12, Rodgers waits, goes on Rogan, says some dumb that he'll pretend was taken out of context but wasn't, and fires complete to the Lizard, who tries to, but can't quite drop it. Jet's not out of fuel yet. Another false start. 2nd and forever, Rodgers hits Wilson, who shakes Minka out of his boots on his way to a huge gainer. Just a poor angle by the Minkman, who's somehow still waiting for his first big play of the year. Rodgers grabs a few on first, but none on second. And on third, it's Venticinque, Deshaun Elliott with another premium stick to stifle it. Flailing around helplessly without a head coach, the Jets go for it, and the unsung beast Keanu Benton swats it out of the sky. Remember what I said about the old Roethlisberger defense? And the Steelers take over with a chance to land the plane. Now just working on stuff, Russ shows us his 1-2 step as he flies this one to the wide the fuck open Calvin Austin, who flips the field and all but ends it. Not sure how in the hell he got this open, but I am so here for CA3's ascension. Looking more and more like a viable option as the weeks go by, and I'm sure Wilson will only help in that regard. Steelers ground and pound with their own version of Sonic and Knuckles as time continues to tick, tick, tick into the future. More running brings up a 4th and inches that they somewhat surprisingly go for, liking the aggression tonight, and they convert to just about end it. Another run for the Naj sets up a 4th and 2, and why not? They go again.
Najee Harris to the end zone.
The ever-present Najman cometh and he scoreth to drop an unbelievable 37 spot on the board, the likes of which we Steelers fans haven't seen since way back in 2021. Well, I simply don't know what to say. As the biggest Strawberry Fields supporter, I'll start as promised by eating crow. Wilson, if he can continue to play like this, might be able to completely unstick this offense and turn them from a passable unit to a potentially really good one. The deep balls he lobbed in this one, well, not all complete, helped to back up the defense, draw penalties, and get them moving in a way they just haven't been able to since Ben could still throw. Russ and the boys dropped a cool 409 total yards on the night, and as a guy who's famously been making a highlight show with no highlights for 5+ years, I for one could not be more excited to finally talk about some good offensive plays. 37 points is 37 points. I don't want to hear that the 2-5 Jets stink. Yeah, maybe they do, but the guy on the other side was Aaron freaking Rodgers. Getting a dub on a gold jacket type guy with his back against the wall is always something to write home about. And it just so happens that today, General Russell Carrington Wilson is penning a letter to his beautiful wife. Honey, I'm writing to inform you that despite rumors of his demise, Mr. Unlimited has triumphantly returned. 5-2, friends. Soak it up. G-Men in town next week. Here we go. And if you're still here, hop over to patreon.com/5SMU and drop $4 in the jar to join and support the show. Can't tell you how fun our Discord server is. Literally 24 hours a day. And you'd be helping us out big time. Do it.